Maundy Thursday Today you will be with me in paradise. It was something I hadn't expected to see. I bought a newspaper and read through the bits that interested me, but I hadn't quite finished my morning hot chocolate, so I was idly flicking through the pages, as you do, and a phrase in the sports section, which I don't usually read, caught my eye. The phrase was, "The path to paradise is through hell." And the article in the paper was about a young man from Brixton, a man called Isaac Chamberlain, for whom boxing has been a life-saving career, away from the dangers of drug gangs, violence and prison. He was planning to make boxing a big-time career of his this year. He'd been training in isolation in America for months when coronavirus hit, so he's had to come back and wait and hope for the future. And that phrase is his Twitter account motto. He speaks in the article about the hell in his mind which comes from being unable to be active, the silence and loneliness of a pitch-black room at 5 a.m. "Whatever you're going through, you can get past it," he says to the reporter. "Keep working, keep believing, you will come through it. If you feel you're in hell right now, why would you stay there? The path to paradise is through hell." On Maundy Thursday, we think about the Last Supper of the disciples with Jesus, his anguished prayers in the garden, and the betrayal that leads to the cross. The word paradise is an ancient Persian word for an enclosed garden, used of the Garden of Eden at the beginning of the Bible, the garden where God walks, God's garden. In the newspaper article, Isaac Chamberlain doesn't say what he means by the word paradise, but in ancient and modern usage it's come to mean something like heaven. So St. Paul, in his second letter to the Corinthians, talks about going to heaven, to the third paradise, in order to have a vision of God. I don't know if you can still buy from garden centres that decorative plaque to take home and put in your back garden that says, "You're closer to God in a garden than anywhere else on earth." Closer to God is the point. Paradise isn't a place where we enjoy a lovely summer afternoon, luscious fruits or forbidden pleasures. Paradise is where we come home into the presence of God. When the thief on the cross in Luke's Gospel says to Jesus, "Remember me when you come as king," Jesus from the cross replies, "Today you will be with me in paradise." The point is not that the thief will be in paradise, it's that he will be remembered. He will be with Jesus. He will come home to God. But getting there has required going through hell. During the whole of his ministry, and especially his last week in Jerusalem, Jesus has been preparing himself for the trial that he knows is coming. He's been in training as a spiritual athlete, through encounter and isolation, in public and in private, in fellowship and in prayer. Jesus gets ready for his final conflict. At the Last Supper, he strips off to his essential kit in order to wash the disciples' feet, upsetting to the last the expectations of the people around him. When he goes to the garden, the paradise, not of Eden, but Gethsemane, the place where he spent many hours with his friends, he goes off alone, to wrestle in anguish with darkness, to be with God in the garden, God his Father, who calls him and walks with him through hell to bring him to the paradise of God's presence, the paradise of coming home. There's a picture behind me on the wall which was painted by a Devon artist in memory of those who served and died in the conflict in Afghanistan. We had 2 children in the army who served there, and they lost some of those they knew. At the bottom of the picture there's an open door looking into the forge of war, the heat and pain, the darkness and destruction. But above and beyond that is the light of an early dawn and a moon hanging in a cloudy sky beckoning beyond to something more than we can imagine. Like that young Brixton boxer, like the thief hanging on the cross, we too may have a difficult path ahead, challenged, isolated, feeling more like hell than heaven. But like them too, we can keep going, keep believing, not believing in ourselves, but believing for ourselves, that we can walk with Jesus in the way of the cross, and so come home to God. The path to paradise is through hell. Jesus, remember me. Today, you will be with me in paradise.